Hey neighbor, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John, I'm a big fan of the English rockers Royal Blood, and the excitement is real as we finally arrive at album 3, Typhoons, their first since 2017's How Did We Get So Dark. Royal Blood are a duo made up of vocalist-bassist Mike Kerr and drummer Ben Thatcher. They're known for a biting retro hard rock sound, exploding onto the scene with their Landmine self-titled debut back in 2014. The record's still one of my favorites of the 2010s, but the follow-up had some issues with both repetition and songwriting and style. It was by no means a total throwaway, it just wasn't that memorable, although there were some killer cuts on there, including Sleep, the title track, and Hole in Your Heart. Time to shake up the sound is what the boys have been preaching. I'd personally been hoping for some evolution too, and indeed shaken not stirred is what they've delivered. Even if it's not that insane to see it on their menu, a wider range of sound and influence is present for sure. Mike gave up drinking, he's getting healthy physically and mentally right as the world was going to shit, so brace for kind of a colliding of dark and light along with some dance rock rhythms to set your feet on fire. Not everyone that loved their first two will like this, but I think you already knew that if you somehow hated the singles. More power to you and cheers to opinions, but I heard the first two and said, yep, just go ahead and put all the songs in the bag, boys, keep it coming. I intentionally held myself to just hearing Typhoons and Troubles Coming, but knowing now what the other two singles were, holy shit, how could you not be excited for this? It's almost like each song got a little bit better than the last. The problem is that beyond those studs, they don't ever really hit that level of greatness in the remaining portion of the track list. It's unfortunate when an artist will set the bar so high with the previews that you think it's impossible to fail. And not that this album does fail, some of the deep cuts are majestic bangers in their own right. It's just hard to realistically call this a step into perfection when they put their best feet forward with the singles in a super apparent way. I did not hear Boilermaker or Limbo until I played the full album, but the way they lit up my eardrums with their fiery riffs and the out-of-the-box song structures, at least for Royal Blood, that signaled to me that those had to have been the singles. I knew that first listen, and upon double-checking myself to make sure, I was right. We'll talk more about those flaming arrows soon, but let me take it back a step to talk a little bit about Royal Blood's approach on Typhoons. They knew they were in the hot seat, trying not to become the very thing they wrote a song about, a one-trick pony. Many had accused them of coasting on the fumes of the stoner rock, hard rock genre for a while now, so to keep things interesting, they added some keyboards along with other sporadic uses of outside instrumentation instead of just the drum and bass they were known for. They played down keys before, it's just never been this prominent or consistent in the mix. It's still unbelievable what Mike is able to do with that bass guitar and how he makes it so integral to their sound, and it still absolutely is. I don't want you to fret too much about this not being a rock album or something, because it is, and he plays the bass a lot, often very loudly in your face. I do wish certain spots were a bit more colorful, given that they announced that they were seeing in color for the first time. The bass grooves that kick ass do just that, the ones that feel more muted to give room for the keys and stuff, and the drumming, I guess it can be a bit flaccid or maybe inconsistent would be the better word. Royal Blood themselves took on the majority of the production responsibilities even before COVID hit, which is an interesting choice. I think they do a solid job at hitting the sounds they're gunning for, because obviously when you self-produce, it's easier to make whatever vision of the song is in your head, to take it, mold it, and make it come to life. There are a few other noteworthy names in the production credits, with the biggest standout being my man Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age producing Boilermaker. Royal Blood have always had a bit of Queens in their bloodstream, so after Villains dropped in 2017, the dancing shoes slipped off of their feet and moved over to their peers too, apparently. There's songs other than Boilermaker that adapt those disco rock sensibilities along with influence from Queens of the Stone Age, but none slap quite as hard as that one. It's such a jagged, riff-filled banger with choppy drums, catchy lyrics, and an unforgettable groove. I'm so stoked that this song got an official release after years of live performances and that they got such a legend to produce it. The title track Typhoons took a few listens to really make sense. Something felt a bit uneven at first, but I think you really come to appreciate just how sharp that riff is and how well they dominate the rest of the musical landscape with some really fun twists and turns. Ride high with the lightning or sink down with the waves. It's a topsy-turvy ride, but it's not one that you'd willingly leave. In fact, that outro is such a blast with Ben's drumming lighting the way, you're probably just gonna smash that replay replay button. Blistering bassage warps a crystal ball type of mentality on the exciting song Oblivion. I love how quick and punchy it is. There's a lot of forceful gusto that rams itself into your head like a swift roundhouse kick. There's room to breathe in the verses and an all-out swaggering pulse to the hook. So really, it's pretty much a perfect track, probably the best non-single by a comfortable margin. There's a noticeable drop-off in the intrigue factor the more you sit with some of the deep cuts, like a polished car that slowly loses its shine. Hold On, for example, starts off kind of promising, but that simple scuzzy bass hits a stalemate with the uninteresting drum pattern, and the painfully dull lyrics don't make it any better. It kind of has this feeling like something a roller skate DJ would play at the end of the night to kind of clear people out. Hold On is the low point, the rest I'm mainly fine with, even if they don't push the dial that much one way or the other, which leads me to Who Needs Friends, which definitely exists, and Either You Got It, which may frustrate listeners because it could and should be a lot stronger, but instead it takes a few slight cop-outs, hits like a more aggressive Tame Impala song, and ends up only being a little bit above average for a band that's clearly capable of a lot more. The piano ballad to close out the record was a bold move, I applaud the effort, but it unfortunately feels very much like the black sheep of the family that just kinda comes out of nowhere. Its sparse emotional tone is endearing. It's great to see Mike getting a little bit more comfortable sharing those romantic musings in a very non-traditional Royal Blood way, but I can't say all we have is now stirred the pot to the point where I could see myself coming back that frequently, if ever at all. Bouncing back over to a positive, Limbo drops it down to the dimly lit caverns of the mind to dwell on the ghostly unknown. The layering worked really well in the band's favor as they slowly added in new spices, letting it simmer to a fever pitch by the time we moved past the stern verses and the catchy chorus. The finale is what you've gotta witness for yourself. The pounding bass calls to mind the epic Queen's track In My Head, but with even more spaced out insanity to make this climax feel like a huge tidal wave of typhoonery. Look, I know I complained a lot in this review, but I'm only harsh on Royal Blood because I know they can do better than this, and it sucks that after a 4-year wait, the singles are easily the highlights, and the rest might leave you feeling indifferent. The songs worth loving are super strong. It's not just the singles, I don't mean for that to be the takeaway. Take the explosive moments, focus on those, and after a bit of cherry picking, you've got yourself some new stuff to love from a very talented band. Everything from the dance floor doomsday trebles coming to the foot stomper Mad Visions embraces the new chapter in a well-oiled manner. Not everything works. I could see a decent amount of these collecting dust in my library, which is definitely a shame, but I still have faith that they've got another great record floating around somewhere. But for now, I'm rating Typhoons a 3.5 out of 5. Thank you guys so much for tuning into my review of Typhoons. Let me know your thoughts on the record in the comments section down below. This was all just my opinion. If you enjoyed the video, then please drop a like on it, subscribe for the love of music. If you want to see me talk about Royal Blood more, then tap this card here, or tap over here for another recent video. A top 10 Royal Blood songs is coming this summer, and I'll be back soon for more on ARTV.